Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be continuing David's story. It's going to be called The Outlaws of Judah. We'll be starting on this page here. This will be based on 1 Samuel chapter 21 through 24. Without even taking the time to pack provisions, David flees for Judah, his home country. Famished and tired, he stops for a rest at Nob. There he seeks the help of an Amalek, the high priest. He comes like, David, you look terrible. What are you doing here this late at night and alone? David lies to protect the priest. Don't be alarmed. I am on a secret mission for the King Saul. But I need bread, food, anything you have. All I have is the holy bread in the tabernacle. But if it's a matter of starving to death, I can let you have it. Also, I left in such a hurry that I forgot to bring a weapon. Do you have a sword or a spear? We are priests. We don't fight or keep weapons. The only thing we have is the sword of Goliath. We kept it here as a trophy of your victory. Once you were used to fight against the Lord, but now I will wield you in the Lord's service. So he goes here, and this is kind of crazy. The sword that belonged to Goliath, that David killed and took the sword and cut Goliath's head off, they kept it in there like a trophy. But David needed a weapon. So now once this sword that was used to fight against God and against David will now be used and wielded in David's hands to fight for the Lord. It's pretty cool. Unfortunately, one of Saul's spies sees David leave the priest at Nob. He goes to report to his master. David goes into hiding in Judah. And he prays, Lord, you said I would be king. Now here I am, an outlaw, all alone in the cave. I trust you, but I don't see that I'm much of a king. A real king has an army, prophets, and priests. I only have a sword that's too big for me. News of David's whereabouts spreads quickly. 400 men, refugees, homeless, and his relatives join him in exile. King Saul's, so, he prays to God, questions him, and, like kings have armies and priests, and he is alone in a cave, and, but he trusts God, and now God brings him these homeless, his family, these refugees, to build his army, to build, to have people be with him. King Saul's declared you an outlaw, but we want to fight for you. Then fight for me you shall. We will protect the poor people of Judah in the name of the Lord. And so, out of rejects and relatives, David gets his first army. So now he's built an army. God has given an army from these people. Among his relatives, 3 of David's nephews will become indispensable to him. Joab will be David's commander. Abishai will grow into a mighty warrior and bodyguard, and Ashel, fast as a gazelle, will chase down David's enemies. One day, so now it's like one day, this is some time in the future, I am Gad, one of King Saul's prophets. So Gad comes to him, and but the Lord has told me that you are his anointed king. So I am here to serve you. And as my first duty, I must warn you to move your camp into the forest of Herath. And so David gets his first prophet. So as he said, a king has prophets, armies, priests. So now God has brought in and built David, an army of his family of refugees. Now he has commanders and bodyguards, real warriors. Now a prophet that will serve Saul has come to David, and because God has showed him that David is the true anointed king, and now he's come to David. Now he has his first prophet. Meanwhile, Saul summoned Amalek and all the priests of Nob and accused them of treason for helping David. How is it treason to help one of your most loyal soldiers? He's your son-in-law. Of course I helped him. You helped my enemy, and for this you will die. In an insane desire for revenge, Saul orders the death of not only the priest and the noble, but every man, woman, and child in the city. Only one man escapes, Abiathar, the son of Amalek, the high priest. So now Saul, you know, and this is very evil, kills, not, he didn't just kill the priest, he killed the women, the children, he burned their city to the ground. He carries the tragic news to David. I am the only priest left, but I saved the high priest ephod and brought him with me. God forgive me, I am partly to blame. I asked for help, and your father gave it. Stay with me, for now Saul wants your life as well as mine. Saul has broken his faith with the Lord. I will serve you, as Amalek says. No, not Amalek, Abiathar. And so David gets his first priest. God has now given him the full encouragement of a king. He asked, I need a priest and army. And God, even in these terrible things and the horrible things Saul is doing, God has brought David an army, a priest, and a prophet. Gad informs David that the Philistines have attacked the poor town of Keilah, and Abiathar relays God's command to attack and rescue the fellow Judeans. David's men, however, are less than confident. We have no training. We can't fight against a Philistine army. Actually, I'm in the middle of a fast. It's true, uncle. It's one thing to defend you against Saul, but the Philistines are too strong for us. And then David, men of Judah, our father prophesies your hand shall wring your enemies' necks. Now you crouch in hiding like a young lion, but who will dare provoke you? Lions of Judah, God has delivered our enemy into our hands. Fight with me. Fight for your families. Fight for God. Encouraged by David's words, his men shake off their fear and march to the fight. They inflict heavy losses on the Philistines, taking their plunder and sharing it with the people of Keilah. But while they are celebrating their first victory, David's prophet and priest bring him the troubling news. David, God warned me that Saul is on his way here to capture you. Abiathar used the ephod to task the Lord if the people of Keilah will defend me or hand me over to Saul. The Lord says they will betray you to Saul. He said, then let's go. Even though he was just rescued their town, David is forced to flee from the fickle citizens of Keilah and hide in the nearby caves. However, 200 men are impressed by his bravery and join his army. He now has 600 soldiers. So now, encouraged by his bravery, in his words, first of all, he gets his men to come in and fight this battle after winning, and learning that Saul is going to come for him and that then people will betray him. He decides to hide in the caves, and encouraged, by his bravery, 200 more men join him. So now he has 600 soldiers. He has his priest. He has his prophet. He's really, and even in this, he's learning his leadership because he's leading all of them, and, doing very well. He was God's chosen one of God's chosen one, because even Jesus was, chosen, but Jesus was, God in the flesh, and, David was just one of us, and he looked inside his heart, and you could see, it's not everybody could become a leader. Some people are, impulsive and things like that, and, not everybody just could become a leader. None of David had many brothers, and none of them had the heart or, the mindset to even become a leader. Maybe they wouldn't know what to do in this situation, but David did, which proves he was God's chosen one. He knew exactly what to do, and God spoke through him and worked through him, and was with him every step of the way. King Saul and his army arrived too late to capture David at Keilah. As Saul hunts for David in the desert, he stops to rest in a cave, unaware that David and some of his men are hiding in the back of it. Why doesn't David kill him? This is it, Uncle David. The Lord promised you would be king, and now the Lord has delivered the old king, helpless, into your hands. David looks down at the king and thinks of all the times Saul has tried to kill him. Now the jealous king is at his mercy, but David only bends down carefully, cuts off a piece of the royal robe. I understand he's your father-in-law. If you don't want to kill him, I'll do it for you. And David says, no. He was chosen by God to be our king. It's not for us to decide when he will die. So even Saul was chosen. And, his fate, Saul's fate is left in, God's hand. David understands that it's not, it's not up to him, it's not up to him to end Saul. After a while, Saul leaves the cave, and David calls after him, my lord the king. And he turned around, David? Why do you keep hunting me? I mean you no harm. See this piece of cloth? I cut it from your robe. I could have killed you, but I didn't. My father, if I have wronged God, let him judge me. But how have I wronged you? I am ashamed, Saul cries out. You are a better man than I am, David. I will go and leave you alone. Saul leads his army away. But a short time later, David learns that Saul has forced Michal, David's wife, to marry another man. This shows David that Saul has not forgiven him. Word comes, too, that after many years of serving the Lord, the prophet Samuel has died. So, he shows, what kind of man, David shows what kind of man he is to God and to Saul. And Saul leads his army away, still filled with jealousy and still, not forgiving him. He makes Michal marry another man. And then also Samuel, was pretty old at this point, but he has passed away as well. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully, these stories make you want to become a better man. Learn that even these great men in these days made mistakes. And, these men sinned and listened to the devil. I feel that it is worse now than it's ever been. But, you could still be a good person. You could still make changes in your life and others as well. And you could still serve the Lord. I thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. And as always, take it easy.